Time for the news here on Zodiac. You're with me, Job Frank Chakaza. First, the headlines. EU releases 56.6 billion kwacha for efforts to combat COVID-19 in the country. National Assembly says plans to convene budget review meeting intact despite surge in COVID-19 transmissions. 2 elderly women assaulted in Mulanje for allegedly killing Form 4 student through magic. Across the borders, Nigeria President Buhari fires heads of armed forces amid widespread national insecurity. Other news in detail. The European Union has committed 56.6 billion kwacha towards supporting the response to the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. Speaking in an interview with Zodiac on Tuesday, EU Head of Cooperation Ivor Hofkens said the funds will mainly be used in mitigating the socio-economic impact of the pandemic on the ultra-poor through the social cash transfer program, sanitation and hygiene interventions, as well as direct assistance to the health systems. Vanani Nyireda reports.
As Malawi continues to register new COVID-19 infections at an alarming rate, the European Union, jointly with the Irish Cooperation and German Cooperation, have committed 56.6 billion kwacha towards the COVID-19 response in the country. EU Head of Cooperation Ivor Hofkens told Zodiac the money will mainly go towards promoting sanitation and hygiene interventions, supporting the school meals program, as well as ensuring that the ultra-poor Malawians are protected against the socio-economic impact of the pandemic.
Well, with its restrictive measures, a lot of people, certainly in the informal sector, are losing out on their livelihoods, are losing income, living day by day of what they can earn. And with restrictions, these incomes are jeopardized. So the social cash transfers, which is a government program and is constant in the rural areas, there is clearly a need to expand that to urban areas and to target the ultra-poor in the urban areas that have seen their livelihoods affected by the restrictive measures.
Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 co-chairperson Dr. John Puka said he cannot comment on the matter as they have not been officially updated on the support from EU. The country is experiencing a rise in COVID-19 infections with more than 12,000 active cases, with stakeholders grappling to control the further spread of the virus. Meanwhile, other individuals and groupings have gone flat out in mobilizing resources to help our ailing health systems cope with the surge in infections. For Zodiac, I am Vanani Renda.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly says plans to convene the mid-year review meeting of Parliament remains intact despite the surge in COVID-19 transmissions in the country. Parliament spokesperson Ian Mwenye says, however, the Business Committee is monitoring the COVID-19 situation. Meanwhile, the Chancellor College-based economist Dr. Jacob Mazalale says it is crucial for Parliament to meet to make necessary changes to the budget in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have a report filed by Western Guda.
Parliament spokesperson Ian Mwenye told us Tuesday that despite the surge in coronavirus cases in the country, plans to hold the 2020-2021 mid-year budget review meeting scheduled for 8th of February are still on course. However, Mwenye was quick to say Parliament is monitoring the COVID-19 situation before coming with a clear way forward.
It is a fact that as an institution of Parliament, we have to function. And with the pandemic out there, we need to find ways and means of making sure that our Parliament is functioning. But we will take into consideration the fact that we have the pandemic out there.
But Chancellor College-based economist Dr. Jacob Mazalale is of the view that the meeting should take place without fail, as it will present an opportunity for government to review and make changes where necessary to the national budget that will assist in fighting the pandemic.
The fact that we have COVID does not mean we stopped implementing the budget. In fact, The very fact that we have COVID calls for an urgent review of the budget. I would further extend the argument to say, should they meet physically or should they meet virtually?
Government recently announced new COVID preventive measures which restricts public gatherings to 50 people but exempted some essential activities such as parliament meetings. For Zodiac in Lilongwe, this is Western Guta reporting.
Some minibus operators in Lilongwe and Blantyre staged a sit-in Tuesday, leaving hundreds of commuters stranded. They were not amused with the 2-passenger per seat rule, which they said is not profitable given the recent fuel hike. The rule is one of the preventive guidelines recently announced by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 as one way of containing the spread of the coronavirus. Western Guta rushed to Old Town in Lilongwe.
For the second time in 2 weeks, minibus operators have grounded their vehicles in protest against what they call high fuel prices and the 60% seating capacity, which they claim is doing more harm to their business. Tuesday morning in many parts of Lilongwe, commuters were stranded after the operators blocked roads and only granting passage to those minibuses coming into the city. We spoke to some commuters and here is their representative.
I've walked from Gwenya and I've been here since morning because they have agreed not to operate.
But the minibus operators have vowed to continue their industrial action until government meets their demands of reducing both the fuel and seating capacity.
Government directed that we should carry 2 passengers per seat. And with the cost of fuel, we are not making profits. Now we want to pressurize government to revisit these regulations.
Police officers have since been deployed to maintain calm. Recently, Insurance Association of Malawi reduced insurance premiums to 60%, meaning that operators will be required to pay only 60% in times of accidents. Reporting for Zodiac in Lilongwe, this is Western Guta.
But in Blantyre, minibus operators called off the strike after reaching a consensus with government that they would be carrying 3 passengers per seat on condition that COVID-19 preventive measures be followed. Spokesperson of Minibus Drivers and Conductors Association of Malawi, Evans Magalasi, confirmed to us that the stage in had been called off. Haben Jalamano sent us this report from Blantyre.
Situation was tough in Blantyre this morning, where minibus operators grounded their vehicles protesting fuel price hike and the amended minibus seating capacity. It was volatile in some areas such as Chirimba and Machinjiri, where police and civilians engaged in running battles as roads were barricaded. Police fired tear gas. Commuters were left destitute. Hours later, we found a spokesperson for Minibus Drivers and Conductors Association of Malawi, Evans Galasi, at his base in Machinjiri, who told us the protest is over.
The government have allowed us to carry the passenger, 3 passengers per seat. So this is very interesting to us because the government have listened to our concern. And I'm asking all the demonstrations that were happening, the whole Malawi, that they have to drop their tools. So tomorrow we are going to work. There is no any problem. We have talked with the government and the Minister of Local Government is going to come tomorrow to discuss with us with the issue of our demonstration. But for today 26, we can go home and relax because we cannot start the business right now. This is late time, but tomorrow we are going to work normal as we do always.
This comes after 2 weeks since government ordered that minibuses carry 2 passengers per seat as a way of curbing further spread of new version of COVID-19 that has held the country under siege.
In Mangochi, health workers and support staff at Monk Bay Community Hospital staged a sit-in Tuesday to force authorities remove some management officers at the facility, accusing them of mismanaging funds meant for COVID-19 response. According to some workers who spoke on condition of anonymity, they want the hospital administrator and matron removed, among other officials. However, Mangochi District Hospital spokesperson Harold Kabuluzi has told Zodiac that they have talked to the disgruntled workers and they will resume their work. Rafael Mlozoa reports.
The disgruntled health workers have complained of poor decision-making by management of the facility under the Mangochi District Health Office. As a result, in the morning of Tuesday, the workers closed the hospital gates, pasted posters with different messages that demand immediate removal of hospital administrator and the matron. In some posters, the workers accused the management of not being honest on how they are using COVID funds, questioning allocation of their allowances. They also threatened that they will take to the street if authorities will do nothing on their grievances. However, Mangochi District Hospital spokesperson Harold Kabuluzi has told Zodiac this afternoon that they have talked to the disgruntled workers, disclosing that they will resume work as they are waiting for a full hearing.
As management, we have resolved the issue, and again on Thursday we are going at Mankbe as management for interface meeting. I'm sure when we go there to Mankbe, it's when we will hear from both sides. Otherwise, just to hear from one side, we can't resolve those differences.
In his recent address on COVID-19, President Lazarus Chakwera asked for prudence when using COVID-19 funds. For ZBS, this is Rafael Mlozowa reporting.
United Democratic Front President Atupele Muluzi has urged government to urgently plan for COVID-19 vaccinations. He says the COVID-19 situation is quickly escalating and Capitol Hill should make sure that this country is fully prepared in terms of planning and thinking. Among other things, the former health minister says the government should consider sensitizing the masses on why the vaccination is needed to enable them to understand its importance. Muluzi speaks to Wilson Henry.
I'm appealing to government, let us please make sure that we are ahead of the game in terms of planning and thinking. So far, we've not heard anything about any plan for vaccinations. Countries are preparing themselves, and I believe that together in Malawi, we can all use our collective networks and have a plan and a roadmap for COVID-19 vaccinations. There's a lot of misinformation about the vaccine. We also need to devise a communication strategy for ensuring that the population is aware of the correct information about vaccines, so that when we do start vaccinations, there are no misconception. We can save lives and protect our people.
Now, your sentiments are contrary to what some quarters are suggesting, in which they say government should not rush into that. Would you point out what exactly should be done?
With any pandemic, we are now seeing escalating cases of deaths and new cases. We need to start planning for an end game. That means getting the correct information on the vaccines, not misinformation. Countries have started already in terms of preparing themselves for mass vaccinations. Others have started. Malawi seems to be lagging behind in terms of information, the correct information. And unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And this is only going to hurt us more if we don't have the correct information. And if we do intend to have vaccinations in future, it will be extremely difficult. So that is why we need to start the conversation now, so that we get the correct information for all stakeholders and all Malawians are speaking one voice with regard to how we can end this virus.
Meanwhile, Minister of Health Kumbise Kandodo Chibonda has urged Malawians not to despair if found COVID-19 positive. Chibonda says 50 to 60% of patients in isolation centers have recovered, which he said is an indication that many are recovering. She spoke in Blantyre on Tuesday when National Bank of Malawi presented a donation of 60 million kwacha to the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. Alfred Guda reports.
Minister of Health Kumbise Chibonda says there is no cause for worry. Chibonda, who is co-chairperson for Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, told Zodiac Tuesday Malawi is registering many COVID-19 recoveries. Kumbise Chibonda spoke in Blantyre Tuesday when National Bank of Malawi presented a donation of 60 million kwacha to Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, which will go towards administration of oxygen therapy to COVID-19 patients.
The numbers of people who are recovering in our isolation centers, it is more than 50%, or indeed maybe more than 60%. That should give assurance to Malawians that when they get to our hospitals, especially public institutions, they are going to get the necessary help which they need. If you are sick, you are at home and you're listening to us or watching us, please, I urge you, if you are feeling breathlessness, you are feeling very tired, please come to our institutions. We're going to take care of you.
National Bank of Malawi Chief Executive Officer McPherson Jawawa told Zodiac they felt duty-bound to support government in fighting the pandemic.
We are a local major corporate. We are all over, Malawi. We have seen the pandemic affecting our staff, our customers, our suppliers, and various other communities that we work with. So when the president made a call for help, we felt duty-bound to respond, knowing that as an institution, we also have a direct interest. So we believe that by helping fight the pandemic, we'll help the nation, but eventually we'll be helping ourselves as well for our future growth.
He said so far, the bank has pumped close to 120 million kwacha towards COVID-19 response since last year. Kawawa pledged more support in responding to the pandemic to ensure their staff and customers are protected. There has been a surge in new COVID-19 cases and deaths in the country. For Zodiac in Blantyre, this is Alfred Gouda reporting.
Now, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has pleaded with Malawians to stop some cultural practices which it says are fueling the spread of COVID-19. Speaking Monday when providing the daily updates to Malawians, co-chairperson of the task force, Dr. John Puka, singled out family gatherings such as funerals, prayer gatherings, bars, and such other platforms as super spreaders of the virus. Anafe Mlamba has filed this report.
Despite efforts in curbing further spread of coronavirus by, among other things, restricting the number of people during gatherings, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has complained that some cultural practices are perpetrating the spread of COVID-19. During the daily update on COVID-19, co-chairperson of the task force, Dr. John Puka, pointed that some traditional norms such as funerals, prayer gatherings and bars have been noted to be spreading the pandemic at an alarming rate. Dr. Puka since called upon the citizenry to exercise caution when participating in the said activities, which he mentioned to be fast spreaders of the pandemic. With hospitals being overwhelmed with the number of patients to treat every day, Kamuzu Central Hospital Director Dr. Jonathan Ngoma also assured that the facility, which is also serving as an isolation center, is rendering the best services despite being overwhelmed. As of Monday, 25th January 2021, Malawi has recorded 10 new deaths, 81 new recoveries and 995 new cases, totaling the number of confirmed cases to 19,998.
You're watching the news on Zodiac. We'll be back with more news after this.
Zanga kodi mukudziwa chiyani za lamulo lomwe limaumiriza adindo osankhika kuulula zachuma, ngongole komanso mabizinesi omwe ali nawo. Lamuloli limathandiza kuti adindo agwire ntchito mokhulupirika, motsata ndondomeko komanso mosabisa kuti asazikundikire chuma mwachinyengo. Ndi udindo wathu a Malawi kuonetsetsa kuti adindo sakupindula mosayenera ndi maudindo ndi ntchito zaboma zomwe ali nazo, ndipo kuti sakugwiritsa ntchito maudindo omwe ali nawo molakwika. Dziwani zambiri za Audipod komanso zomwe adindo aulula ku bungweli pofunsa ku maofesi a bungweli ku Catholic Secretariat Area 11 ku Lilongwe. Muthanso kudziwa zambiri za bungwe la Audipod ku maofesi a bungwe la NICE omwe muli nawo pafupi. Tengawo ukukufikani kuchokera ku Office of the Director of Public Officers Declarations, Audipod.
To achieve great things in life, you must do little things every day, like the 1, 2, 3 with Colgate.
1, wake up. 2, brush up. 3, smile through your day with a fresh breath and strong tea. Smile through your day with a fresh breath and strong tea.
Do the 1, 2, 3 with Colgate and give yourself a future to smell about.
Precious things have a secret formula. While John is busy trying to impress, James discovered Tangu's secret. Tangu uses Purity sanitary products from Purity body wash, Purity hands wash, Purity body lotion to Purity dishwash. After a week of using Purity sanitary products, James won the heart of Tangu. Use Purity sanitary products.
Wherever you go, a better future begins right here. So be part of this beautiful beginning. Malawi Adventist University Blantyre campus is inviting qualified persons to apply for admission into the 2-year Bachelor of Business Administration upgrading programs with concentration in marketing, accounting and management. Deposit an application fee of 10,000 kwacha to Malawi Adventist University, Standard Bank Nchewu branch, account number 910000744082. Download application forms at www.mau.ac.mw or collect them from Blantyre campus.
Email blantyrecampus@mau.adventist.org.
Your future awaits. Just come and learn how to grab it. Malawi Adventist University. Knowledge, truth, service.
Welcome back. You are with me, Joab Frank Chakaza. Before we continue with the news, let's take another look at the top stories. EU releases 56.6 billion kwacha for efforts to combat COVID-19 in the country. National Assembly says plans to convene budget review meeting intact despite surge in COVID-19 transmissions. 2 elderly women assaulted in Mulanje for allegedly killing Form 4 student through magic. Across the borders, Nigeria President Buhari fires heads of armed forces amid widespread national insecurity. Now moving on with the news, 2 elderly women believed to be in their 80s have been admitted to Mulanje District Hospital after an angry mob assaulted them yesterday for allegedly killing a Form 4 student through magic. Mulanje Police spokesperson Sub-Inspector Gresha Mungwira told us the learner, Jonathan Jassy, got sick and was rushed to a private clinic where he was pronounced dead upon arrival. He said the sudden death angered villagers who pounced on the 2 grannies, alleging they had a hand in the death of the boy. Hastings Chimani reports from Mulanje.
As the country continues registering an upsurge of violence against the elderly on witchcraft accusations, angry mob from Songwe village in Mulanje district yesterday Monday nearly killed 2 grannies, accusing them of killing a Form 4 boy through magic. Mulanje Police spokesperson Sub-Inspector Gresha Mungwira told us the boy Jonathan Jas got sick on Sunday, 24th January 2021, and was rushed to one of the private clinics in the district where he was pronounced dead upon arrival. Mungwira said the sudden death angered villagers who pounced on the 2 grannies and locked them in a house, threatening to kill them if they do not bring back life unto the dead body. He said police rushed to the scene of incidents and rescued the 2 grannies, believed to be in their 80s, and took them to Mulanje District Hospital, where they are currently receiving treatment.
According to these people, his death is not normal. So they accused the 2 who we suspect to be in their 80s. They suspect to have had a hand on the death of this person. Now, when we were alerted, we went to the scene. That's yesterday on Monday, where we managed to rescue these 2 and took them to Mulanje District Hospital for treatment.
Meanwhile, police continues condemning mob justice and warns of arresting all perpetrators of violence against the elderly. For Zodiak in Mulanje, this is Hastings Jimani reporting.
A Chewa Supreme Ruler Kalonga Gawaundi has advised Chewa bereaved family members to refrain from chieftain wrangles when choosing heirs to the throne. Senior Chief Mwase Lundazi of Zambia said this when conveying eulogies at the burial ceremony of Senior Chief Kaluluma. More details with Noah Nkugwi.
People from all walks of life conveyed on Tembo headquarters in Kasungu North to pay their last respect to the late Senior Chief Kaluma, who died over the weekend after suffering from kidney failure as well as old age. The Deputy Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Halima Daudi, represented the head of state, President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, at the funeral ceremony. And several people did condole the bereaved family and also hailed the late chief as one of the chiefs that have demonstrated how good leadership would develop the area. Among others, people hailed the departed chief Kaluma as developmental conscious as well as a peace-loving chief. In his condolence message, a representative of Kalonga Gaundi, Supreme Leader of Chewas in Malawi, Mozambique, as well as Zambia, Senior Chief Mwaselundas of Zambia, urged the bereaved family to ensuring that they should be very conscious when choosing an heir to the throne. He says Kalonga Gaundi would want people of Chewa tribe to ensuring that they are following all the chieftain procedures when it comes to installing the new chief. And the Deputy Minister of Local Government, Halima Daudi, also described the late chief as visionary as well as developmental conscious, and also urged other chiefs to follow suit. From Temple headquarters, this is Noah Nkobwe, Kasungu.
And now on to sports news. Former Nyasa Big Bullet forward Musa Manyenje has failed to secure a club in South Africa, where he went in search for a club following the expiry of his contract with the now defunct Masters Security Football Club last year. Speaking to Zodiac from the Rainbow Nation, Manyenje told us that his 2-month stay in the country has borne no fruits, and he'll be returning home next week to search for a local club. Brad Kanyama has a report.
Manyenje, who left Nyasa Big Police in 2018 to join Masters Security, was a free agent after his contract with the now defunct Masters Security came to an end last year. The attacker left the country for South Africa in search of a new club, and among other clubs that he went for trials, Manyenje was at Richards Bay United, which plays in the country's second tier. After spending 2 months in the Rainbow Nation, he has failed to secure a club and he will be returning home next week. Manyenje told us that he will play for a local team, which we understand he has already made inquiries of a permanent move to Civil Service United, Blue Eagles, among other TNM Super League outfits.
I've been in South Africa for a while, and I had hoped that I would find myself a perfect team to play for, but things didn't go as planned. I'll be returning next week, and hopefully I'll be back on the pitch soon.
Musa Manyenje was among a group of players that shook the country in APAC United colours alongside former TNM Super League top scorer Ishmael Tindwa. For Zodiac, this is Bright Kanyama.
Now, across the borders, Nigeria's President Muhammad Buhari has fired the heads of the country's armed forces, whom he appointed when he first took office in 2015. In a surprise move, he also tweeted the names of their replacements, according to the BBC. No reason was given for the firing of the Army, Navy, Air Force and Chief of Defense Staff. It comes as Nigeria continues to grapple with widespread insecurity, including the long-running Boko Haram insurgency and rampant kidnappings. With that, we've come to the end of the news. Let's look at the top stories as we go. EU releases 56.6 billion kwacha for efforts to combat COVID-19 in the country. National Assembly says plans to convene budget review meeting intact despite surge in COVID-19 transmissions. 2 elderly women assaulted in Mulanje for allegedly killing Form 4 student through magic. Across the borders, Nigeria President Buhari fires heads of armed forces amid widespread national insecurity. Visit our website zodiacmalawi.com for more news. My name is Job Frank Chakaza. Now remember that wearing a face mask and frequent washing of hands with soap will help in containing the spread of the coronavirus. Goodbye.